Hi everyone, my name is Darko. Hopefully most of you recognize these. These are brake calipers, and specifically they're Tokico 6-pot calipers from a 2001 GSX-R 1000. And today, I'm going to show you how to rebuild them. But here's the thing, whether you're working on a high-end sport bike or an everyday commuter, the process for rebuilding them is exactly the same. Keep this in mind, if you drain the entire system of brake fluid, trying to bleed them later on, it's going to be a massive challenge. If you want to save yourself some headache, you can disconnect the line, wrap the end in plastic, and tape it up tight. And then pull the line up high, secure it so the fluid stays put. It's your choice. Either way, just make sure the fluid doesn't touch the paint. Have a look at these 4 caliper body bolts, also called bridge bolts. If you don't have an impact gun or a heavy-duty bench vise, I strongly suggest you crack these loose while the calipers are still mounted to the forks. If you wait until the caliper is off, I can guarantee you will mount it back on. Save yourself the frustration and crack them first. Next, remove the 2 caliper mounting bolts, holding them to the forks. Before we begin, we need to place a towel or any old rag between the wheel and brake caliper. Just make sure it's not a good towel. Brake fluid will ruin it instantly. And if you're married and live with your girlfriend, you won't be for long. The reason we do this is very simple. Pads provide resistance against the rotors. The moment the brake pads clear the rotor, the caliper is going to jump. And if you don't have the rag there, there's a very good chance you're going to smack the rim and chip the paint. Like most calipers these days, the Tokico 6-pots are a 2-piece design. And you have to split them to get to the pistons. That's easy enough if you have an impact gun or something solid to hold on to them while you crack the 4 caliper housing bolts. Before moving on, there's something I want to point out. Not everyone has access to an air compressor. So I'm going to show you both ways of removing the pistons. First, I'll use the piston removal tool. And you'll need this tool even if you're using a compressor, because compressed air won't always pop out all the pistons. It just makes the job easier. After that, I'll show you the same step using an air compressor. But first, we need to remove the brake pads. To do that, take out the 2 3mm Allen pad spring bolts that hold the pad retaining plate down. Then, remove the pad retaining pin with a 5mm Allen key and slide the pads out. Do not use imperial tools. They might fit, but they're not exact. And stripping the heads is almost guaranteed. Now that the pads are out, time to remove the bridge bolts and split the caliper in half. A quick note, these Tokico 6-piston calipers are probably the worst calipers in modern times. Kawasaki and Suzuki had them, and the problem is, if you don't keep the pistons clean, they have a nasty habit of being lazy, causing premature pad wear, overheating, turning your brake fluid black. And I'm talking about track or racing. On the street, they were fine, and a good conversation piece on what to replace them with. Finally, remove the bleeder valve using an 8mm wrench. You can pull the bleeder valve at any point in the process. There's no specific order for it. As you can see, this brake caliper hasn't been cleaned in a long time. And all the brake dust is going to provide resistance in trying to remove the pistons. So, we need to clean it and make sure that there's nothing obstructing the pistons from coming out. Now that the area around the piston is clean, let's give this a try. Place a piston removal tool inside the piston, finger tight only. You don't want to damage it, and start turning while pulling at the same time. Most pistons come out easy, but every now and then, you'll get one that takes 10 times longer, or forces you to resort to extreme methods. This one was fairly easy to pull out. The second piston, and finally, the third. These are in horrible shape, and if you look here, there is a thick sludge buildup. From looking at these, I would guess the brake fluid has never been changed. And the other half looks fine. Now I'm going to show you how to remove the pistons using compressed air. One word of caution. If your compressor is set at 100 psi, the combined force of all 3 pistons is approximately 1.1 kilonewtons, or roughly 247 pounds. That's a lot of energy concentrated in a very small area. We're going to need some solid stopper, something firm enough that will take the force, but soft enough that it won't damage the pistons. And I always use wooden shims. You also want a rag. and not the same towel you used in the rims earlier. And an air chuck with a rubber tip so that you can get a proper seal against the caliper. And of course, we can't forget the caliper piston puller. Yeah. This caliper was applying more force to one side than the other. These pads are almost worn out. However, on this side, they show very little wear. This assembly of the caliper is the same as before. Although, I want to point out, the pad retaining pin, the pin the brake pads actually slide on, this needs to be clean, because if it isn't, the pads can bind. And this one is everything but clean. Let's have a closer look at the pads. They do have a story to tell. If all the pistons are moving the way they're supposed to, the brake pads will wear evenly. These pads have some uneven wear. One is slightly more worn down than the other. And this is from the second caliper. And on one side, the pistons are working. The other side looks like they were dragging. That's why one side looks almost new, the lazy caliper side, and the other worn out brake pad, the working caliper. First, I'll start with two shims. The whole idea is to get the pistons as close to out as possible. Because if one side loses its seal, the other side isn't going to move at all. And I already know the side where the pads look brand new is going to be giving me a major headache. The rag is there to keep anything from flying out. And yes, I should be wearing safety glasses. And here's the part where I should be wearing safety glasses. I'm not making excuses, but I did close my eyes, which I guess technically is an excuse. Let's have a look at how it went. The left side pistons are more to the right, more than I wanted. The right side, well, they're stuck. No use crying over spilled milk. Need to split the suckers and move on. Not as bad as I thought. They're worse. Time to see how much of a fight these pistons plan to give. That was easy. Let's see if we can pull out the second one without a tool. Nice. Next. Now the other half. I can tell you right now, this one's going to be a pain in the arse. This one is not budging. I'll give the tool a shot. Nope, not moving. The pistons on this caliper half are going to be a pain to remove. Okay, not budging. Next step. Gunk. I don't think that's going to work, but worth a shot. For the next step, I wrap the caliper in a rag, plug the transfer port with my finger, and try pushing more air through the banjo bolt inlet. All I managed to do was force air past my finger. I spent the next 10 minutes working with the piston tool and blasting more compressed air through the banjo bolt inlet. And the pistons still wouldn't budge. And that brings me to my next move. I'm going to place a piece of rubber over the fluid inlet port. Piece of rubber. The two halves go together. Well, the bolts just need to be snug, not torqued. If there's a small leak around the fluid inlet port, I'll come back and give a bolt about a quarter turn. Something tells me this is a bad start. And then place a piece of wood to block the pistons from pushing through the other side. Oh, let's not forget the rag. Forgot to plug in the compressor. It worked. Look at that. Now, let's see if they can come out. Okay, looks pretty good. Okay. Back to the old trusty, cheap piston puller tool. Should be. Look at that. With ease. It's like, yeah. This one's going to be a bit of a frickin'. I always have problems with these ones. My tool has a hard time getting in there. But if I go on an angle, oh, come on. Oh, it's coming. Oh, there it goes. There's a smile on my face. The next step is to remove the seals out of the calipers. However, these were so dirty, and in fact, these are probably the dirtiest calipers I've ever touched. So what I did was I spent a considerable time cleaning them. And they came out okay. So the next step is to remove all the seals. To remove the seals, use a plastic or nylon pick, a wooden toothpick, or a blunt metal tool. If you're careful, a small flat screwdriver works. That's what I use. Just never use anything with a sharp edge. One slip, and you'll score the aluminum. And at that point, the caliper is more likely garbage. Well, popped out. Next, clean the piston seal grooves. These have to be absolutely spotless. Any debris or corrosion in the groove will prevent the seal from seating properly. And that's how you end up with leaks. There are many cleaners available to clean the internal of the caliper. I use brake fluid and a Q-tip to clean inside the grooves. Manual cleaning is tedious. You got 24 seal grooves to go through, and it takes time. But look at it this way. Your brakes will work better, you'll save a pile of money, and the best part is the satisfaction of knowing you rebuilt the calipers properly. When you're finished, the piston bore and seal grooves should look better than this. The pistons need to be cleaned and inspected. A good piston should look like this, smooth, polished, and free of damage. This one, on the other hand, has slight scoring at the very bottom. It feels smooth and it sits below the seal line. So, it won't affect sealing, but any scoring that reaches the seal travel area means the piston has to be replaced. Next step, a clean and organized work area. I like to lay out all the hardware that I need to reassemble the calipers. This way I don't miss anything. Keep cotton swabs and fresh brake fluid within reach, and don't forget a damp cloth. You'll be using these constantly during the rebuild. Oh, gloves. Before we begin installing the seals, I'd like to point out it's impossible to mix them up. The primary hydraulic seal is a larger square cut seal that prevents fluid from leaking, and the outer dust boot seal. The dust boot doesn't hold pressure. It simply keeps the debris out. This caliper has two pistons of the same diameter. The other piston, which is a third one, is a smaller one. And if you can't tell the difference, you should probably stop while you're ahead. We start by using a Q-tip dipped in clean brake fluid and spreading it generously inside the piston seal groove. Take the hydraulic seal and coat it with brake fluid. Hold it with your thumb, slide it into the groove until you feel it set. Then use your other thumb to guide it fully into place. Repeat this process for all the seals and make sure each one is seated correctly. Moving on to installing the pistons. Two pistons are of the same size and the other one is smaller. This part's a no-brainer. Just make sure you apply clean brake fluid to both pistons and seals. This way, everything slides in smoothly. Grab a piston and it should slide in smoothly, just like that. Oops. Another piston. And should just slide in. And the small piston. Okay, this one's giving me a bit of a hard time. Oh, there it goes. Done. And when you're done, wipe the caliper down. Finally, we get to join the two halves together. But before we do that, make sure the crossover passage is perfectly clean. That's the channel that lets brake fluid move from one half of the caliper to the other. If any debris gets in there, or if the crossover seal is installed incorrectly, half of the caliper will drag or won't work at all. Place the seal in the caliper's seal groove around the fluid transfer point. That's what keeps the brake fluid contained when the two caliper halves are bolted together. Give the seal a quick glance just to make sure it's still in place. Before we bolt the two caliper halves together, Suzuki recommends using a medium type thread locker, the blue type. It doesn't have to be Suzuki branded as long as it's medium strength. They also specify a torque setting of 21 Newton meters or 15.5 foot-pounds of torque. And if you don't have a torque wrench, at the end of the video, I will show you how to torque your bolts within specification by using the clock or degree method. Finally, bolt everything together, but not too tight. The calipers need to be torqued. The calipers need to be torqued in sequence, and the number one bolt on most Japanese bikes is typically the leading edge bolt where the rotors enter the caliper. But because each bike might have slight variations, you should always reference your service manual for your specific model. With the bolts numbered 1 through 4, we're going to torque in a specific sequence so everything is seated correctly. Beginning with the first stage, torque the bolts to half value, 10 Newton meters or 7.5 foot-pounds of torque, following the sequence. Bolt 2, bolt 4, bolt 3, and then bolt 1. Once those are set, dial your torque wrench to the full 21 Newton meters or 15 foot-pounds of torque. And repeat the same sequence. Bolt 2, bolt 4, bolt 3, and finally, bolt 1. And now, for those of you that don't have a torque wrench, we're going to use a clock or the grime method. One thing to keep in mind, the exact angle can vary depending on how much torque you apply while seating the bolts. This method isn't 100% precise because everyone has a different grip level. First, get all your bolts hand tight until they're fully seated. Next, set your wrench so it's pointing straight up at 12 o'clock and make sure it's loaded right against the tension. The moment the bolt starts to move, that's your 0 degree mark. From there, sweep the wrench to the 1:30 or almost 2 o'clock position. That's a 45 to 50 degree turn, which places you right in the 15 to 18 foot-pound range. "52 degrees and 18 foot-pounds of torque." Let's try it again. "52 degrees and 17.1 foot-pounds of torque." One more try. "50 degrees and 20 foot-pounds of torque." Like I stated before, it's not exact science, but it's a hell of a lot better than torquing till it feels right. Now, going over by 7 Newton meters or 5 foot-pounds of torque isn't going to damage anything. There is still some breathing room, but I guarantee some will blow past 55 newtons or 40 foot-pounds of torque without even realizing it. That is double the recommended torque. Will you damage this bolt? No. Could you damage the threads in the caliper? I don't know, but definitely you're getting there. And that's how you rebuild the Tokico 6-pot brake calipers. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful and entertaining. Don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribing would be appreciated. And remember, always hug your pets. Until next time, take care.